Okay, we are ready to raw pack some chicken. And some things you'll need to do this are, I'm using these pint mason jars, and you'll need a funnel, and some salt, and your lids, and your rings. Okay. These jars have been sterilized and cooled down. What raw pack means is literally what it sounds like. You pack chicken into the jar raw, and then you cook it in a pressure cooker. At my current altitude, I will be cooking it at 11 pounds of pressure for 90 minutes. And I am going to go ahead and add 1/4. Go out. Sorry about that. I add 1/4 teaspoon salt, kosher salt, to each jar, just to give it that extra. It's not really so much for flavor as it is for. You can never be too safe when canning meat. You absolutely have to have a pressure canner to can meat. Pressure cooker can, or whatever you want to call it. You cannot use water bath method of any kind. Okay, and we're just going to fill. I hacked all this chicken up. This is about, there's 6 roosters here, and I think my husband said 2 other hens, and I just diced them all up because some of you may know, or you may not know, that old stewing hens and older roosters aren't exactly the most tender. And so this is a good way to do 2 things. Your meat's going to be real tender, and when you raw pack, you end up with the best chicken broth you'll ever have. You want to leave a generous 1-inch head space, which means right down, right here. You don't want to go above right here, and that's because this raw chicken is going to create its own liquid. I packed cold chicken in cold jars and put it into cold water, small amount of water, that's in the bottom of my pressure cooker, and then I bring it up to temp. And that way everything comes to be the same temperature, and there's no shock in the temperature range. Also, you want to make sure that your temperature stays and your pressure equals your temperature, at the same level. If it goes above a little bit, that's okay. If it drops below, guess what? You got to start processing all over again. We will use this to make chicken soup, rice, all kinds of stuff. You don't always have to use the broth. You can, strain that out and use it for something different. But we usually use it when we're making rice and stuff. And you know what? When my freezer goes out, this meat won't go bad. I use an all-American pressure cooker. I prefer those because they're metal to metal, and if you're new to canning, what that means is that there's no rubber gasket that I have to rely on. I don't have to replace that every year when it goes out. And if for some reason something were to happen that you could, never really realistically get one again, metal to metal is nice. Okay. My model of pressure cooker can handle 8 jars at a time. One misconception people make is that if your altitude is different, you cook for longer. That is not true for pressure canning. Your altitude, which you can find like in a good blue book, a current one, you don't change your time, you change your pressure. Most people are at the same pressure. I mean, it just, if you're way up, above 1,000 feet or at sea level, there's some differences. And it looks like out of this I'll be able to get about 16 pints, which would have been 8 quarts, but we don't need to use that much chicken every time. I just kind of go back through and see which jars I can add to. I try to keep them all even. You also want to make sure that you cut up your chicken roughly the same size bits, and I just use my cleaver and hack it up. And the reason you do that is you want it to all cook evenly. Sorry if the camera's wobbly. I've got part of the tripod rested on my table, which is slightly not perfect. So this is really easy, and this is just the first part. Okay. A lot of people are intimidated by using pressure cookers, but if you just watch what you're doing, and a lot of the new ones, especially the American brand ones, I don't mean made in America, it is made in America, but that is the name of the pressure cooker, all American. They have security precautions, so if you go way too high, a little rubber cork will pop off, and all the steam will escape. And that's not a good thing, but that it keeps it from exploding. So we're just going to wipe down the rims, even though I know I didn't really get much of anything on them. Just so we know that our lid gets a good seal. And then put these on. The lid itself. Another neat product is Tatler reusable lids. I have some of those, but to be honest with you, regardless if the FDA or USDA doesn't advise it, you can use these lids if you're careful when you take them off to use them after you can them. I've used them up to 6 times with minimal failure rate. You want to tighten to finger tighten, and I know that sounds funny, but you tighten to finger tighten, and then just until you meet resistance. So tighten it until you meet resistance, and then a little bit more. I'm going to make sure that gets on there even. And then a little bit more. So basically you tighten it until you just, from the ease of just turning your fingers, doesn't turn it anymore, and then you just give it a twist. If it's too tight, it won't work right. If it's too loose, you're likely to boil over your jars. I knew that there was 2 more somewhere. You can do this with beef, pork, and they're all the same processing times. I prefer raw pack. I mean, it doesn't dry out your meat. You get your nice, it makes its own broth. The only thing that I don't raw pack is hamburger and sausage. I brown that, and then I add a broth to it, and then I can it. And so I can just take my burger right out and then put it in a pan and basically cook it until all the water comes off. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 meals. Of course, if you added rice and other things, So that is the first start of it. I will get these going in the pressure cooker, and I will show you what it's like when we're done. Alright, see you in a little bit. Okay, so here we are, and we have got our chicken in our pint jars in my All-American brand pressure canner. And right now we are doing what's called venting. I don't know if you can see that, but there's steam. And there, now you can see it. Made my lens steam over. Hopefully that goes away in a minute. I don't think it's gonna. I'll have to wipe it. Let me wipe the steam off there. That's kind of better. You want to vent it for 10 minutes, and that's to get all the excess air out of there. And as soon as that beeps, I will pop this down, and when this gauge right here reads to 11, which is just one little notch above the 10, I'm just above 240 degrees, I will process it at the correct time. I quoted you for quarts, because I'm kind of used to doing quarts. 75 minutes is what you need to do raw packed poultry without bones for. And you should always consult your canning book, a recent updated canning book, to make sure that you're doing everything that you're supposed to right. Regardless if you're watching my YouTube video, or you found a recipe online. Most of the safety precautions when it comes to pressure canning I agree with. There are some that I don't agree with, and these are ones that they've recently changed. So, such as you're not supposed to be canning pumpkin pie filling anymore, you're not supposed to can butter, you're not supposed to can cheese, any of that stuff at home. Yet you can go to your local Wally World and buy all three of those things. You're not supposed to can milk, cream, anything like that. And in my opinion, that is complete BS. And I've done all of those, and they're perfectly fine. And as long as you follow a good recipe and make sure that it comes to temp in the middle, you'll be okay. But if you do any of those, I've got a lot of butter and cream cheese to can actually, so that'll be coming up, and it's all at your own risk, you know. But anyhow, so I just wanted to show you now that it's in the pressure cooker, and this is what I mean by metal to metal. See all these little clamps? I line up to this little arrow there, to this little groove here, and then the whole thing slides and locks into place with these, and then I tighten these I'll tighten this one, and this one, and then this one, and this one, and this one, and then go back and tighten them all again. If you start on one side and work your way around, it'll be uneven. And then here is the safety, let me come around here, the safety plug I was talking about. If this pressure were to get too high, that thing would come flying out, and then so there's a bunch of water, but that's better than this thing itself exploding. And you can see where, right here on the gauge, you know, you got to get up to 20 pounds of pressure before, you know, caution. But right now, what I'm actually going to do in the last 5 minutes is I'm going to turn this down. It's going to continue to boil, but you want to reach your pressure with a low heat, because if you don't do that, it's so hard to control your pressure. You'll get to 10 and you're like, alright, I'm there, I'm at 10 or 11 pounds or whatever you need to be at, and then it's just going to keep climbing and climbing. It's better to have it get there slowly and actually have to turn up the heat versus trying to turn it down. It is much better. And then there's a few more procedures, and I will show those towards the end when we're ready to take these out in 75 minutes. So that's like an hour and 15 minutes. So we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, the time is up, which was an hour and 15 minutes. And then we let this gauge right here, you want to let it go all the way to 0 on its own. So you don't open it, don't let the steam off. I know it's tempting to do. So we're going to open it up and we're going to check on the chicken. And you can see what I meant by way. And then it just slides to the right. And I open it up like that. And I'm going to go sit the lid somewhere out of the way. And these are really hot. I'll show you the inside. Look at that, most of them are already sealed. Okay. See? They're still boiling. So I'm going to go ahead and sit this down and you can forgive me while I mess with the camera. Okay. And they'll boil for like another half an hour. And see, I didn't add any liquid to it, and now there's all that nice, I mean, you don't get any better chicken broth than that chicken broth. And you can add vegetables and stuff to this if you want, like onions and celery and spices too if you want. And it doesn't matter because meat, no matter what, is always going to be processed longer than any of those low acid vegetables. So it won't affect it. And now we have chicken ready to just be opened and be put right into rice and whatever else you want to do. Soups, stews, stir fries, tacos. If you felt like just opening it up and eating a can of chicken, you could. We can everything from chicken. We've done pulled pork. We've done all that kind of stuff, and you really see it boiling. Seeing if we'll get lucky and we'll hear one ping for us. Sometimes I've had it where I've taken the lid off and they've all went ting 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 at once. Oh, another one. But like this one right here. Listen. Sealed. Not sealed. Sealed. Not sealed. 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 This one, where am I in the camera? There I am. Sealed. Sealed. We're only waiting on these two. See? Hear the camera sliding around on me. Oop. Hear the difference? Sealed. Not sealed. Don't push that bump down though. It needs to seal on its own. Right now it's sucking in air. Oh. Almost. They're getting ready to. They're sucking in air, and that's what creates the seal because it's such a pressure change. You know, like if you look, I mean, that's a hard boil. It's not just simmering. It's as if you had it in a pan. And I guarantee you that is the most tender chicken you'll eat from a bunch of old stew hens and roosters. So, I hope you learned a little bit, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to do that. I've got some beef to do, and a lot of butter, and a lot of cream cheese too. Just these two have to, oh, that one's sealed, and now we're just waiting on this one. I'm thinking the difference. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed the journey of canning chicken. But I tell you what, it works, and if the power goes off, this food's just fine. And once... Oh, there it goes. Oh, almost. I was thinking about it. Yeah, this will go right in our storage room once it's sat for 24 hours, and remember to always let your pressure cooker return to 0 pressure on its own accord before you take anything out. No matter what it is, that's the best way to do it for the best results. And all these lids that I'm using were used once before, even though they say you can't. They are all, well, almost all of them are sealed. So, well, have a good one, and we'll see you later. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.